Oh,
I gotta
awesome.
get that on our website.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yes, you just in there and went in there. That's a good one. I'll remember that.
Okay, here we go.
Well.
Oh, it's not rain, it's just hail. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, free.
Ah.
Yeah, he said he was about 5 out, 5 or 10 out.
They were just.
I love the peace and quiet.
You got the hammer in your hand. Everybody's ready for the hammer to drop.
Repeat call to order for the Rainbow Municipal Water District Board of Directors meeting for February 28th, 2023. Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Report of potential action items from closed session.
Thank you, Mr. President. The board met in closed session to discuss one item, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D2. One item, that item matter was discussed and there is no reportable action.
Thank you. Item number 10, repeat of roll call. Yes, I always have to screw something up.
I thought that was my job.
It's my bifocals.
Director Gasca. Director Hamilton,
Present.
Director Matt.
Here.
Director Moss
Present.
and Director Townsend Smith.
Here.
Additions and deletions and amendments to the agenda. We are delaying item number 28. And it's my understanding also that one of our recipients of an award today is not in attendance, so we'll postpone that to the next meeting for that individual. Any other additions or deletions or amendments?
None from staff.
Instructions to allow public comment on agenda items from those attending the meeting via teleconference or video conference. If at any point anyone would like to ask a question or make a comment and have joined this meeting with their computer, they can click on the raised hand button on the bottom of the screen. We will be alerted that they would like to speak. When called upon, please unmute the microphone and ask the question or make your comments in no more than 3 minutes. Those who have joined by dialing a number on their telephone will need to press *6 to unmute themselves and then *9 to alert us that they would like to speak. A slight pause will also be offered at the conclusion of each agenda item discussion to allow public members an opportunity to make comments or ask questions. Oral and written communications, do we have any?
We did not receive any written communications.
Okay.
Nothing online.
Thank you. No.
and no speaker slips, so we'll skip reading all that other boring stuff. Employee recognition service awards. I'll turn it over to Mr. Kennedy.
All right, well, I've got a couple of them here. First, Ahmed standing over there has been with us for 5 years. And so couple of things about Ahmed. He and I overlapped in employment at a GIS company 18 years ago, 2005, 2006. It's been a long time. And he worked there after them, but then he went on to do some of the IT and network stuff for Pachanga. And when we had an opening for an IT person here, I got word through the grapevine that, Ahmed might be available. So I got a hold of him, and I've made a lot of hires in my career, and a lot of great hires, a lot of them sitting in this room, and he's up there on the top of the list. So we appreciate it. And another important milestone for Ahmed, last Thursday evening, I had the honor to attend a presentation from his class on a final project that they completed in cybersecurity. And that was his final class. And he just completed his master's in cybersecurity with straight A's and honors. So
Woo-hoo, good job, Ahmed.
Way to go.
all right. This month we have 2 employees who have reached all 5 excellence points.
Wow.
Wow.
The number is growing. Like, what's our total now of people with all 5? 10? 10 employees have now gotten all 5 points. And Patty, I think we explained this before, but these are when employees nominate each other for exhibiting the different traits that we like to see here. This one here is for Ed Bradley. He's our electrician. Ed's been here 35 years, 30,
Yeah, I was gonna
not
say.
quite 35 years.
Wow.
Ed's
He's held every position almost but years. Is that correct?
been a Sparky though. Have you been a Sparky the whole time?
Different moment, not
Not the whole time?
Operating meter.
Oh.
Good for you.
So Ed handles
Congratulations.
all our different stuff related to our electrical anything. I always ask him electrical questions about stuff I'm doing, and then
Yeah, you gave me some pretty cool stories.
yeah, I gave him one earlier today about something I found in my house. But anyway, Ed's I don't know, you or Mark are our longest tenured employee, or is it both? You're first, right behind you. So we like to thank Ed for everything he does every day, and as exhibited by all of his coworkers.
Good job.
Cool.
Next one here is for Malik Tamimi. Malik also has all 5.
Good job, Alex.
Malik has not been here 35 years, but Malik came on as a project manager, and I got to say that, and Chad can attest to this. One of the challenges this district used to have is pushing work out the door and getting projects moving and doing them well. And Malik and the rest of the project team have completely turned that ship around. And
Boy, don't
now,
that one.
now we got to kind of hold them back, because we got they can move more work out than we have money to spend. So Malik is one of those people to where if we have a challenging easement to acquire or something like that, he's so smooth with our ratepayers and everybody, and his personality is such that he's able to communicate in ways that some people feel threatened when the big brother government comes knocking on the door. He's able to handle it with finesse in ways that lead to successful outcomes. So,
And I can certainly attest to that
okay.
based upon our.
And he has
recent
chickens.
And mine, me too.
A chicken. I don't have any chickens.
Okay, item number 16, approval of the minutes from the January 24th regular board meeting.
I so moved.
Second.
Moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Gasca. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And it's unanimous. Item number 17, Board of Directors comments and reports. President has nothing to report at this time. San Diego County Water Authority.
Well, we've had two meetings since the last one. At the board meetings, there wasn't a heck of a lot of substantive stuff, although we did get a forecast just last week of the upcoming rate setting process for calendar year 24. About 18 months ago, many of us, along with the city of San Diego, asked the Water Authority to bring us their draft proposed budgets and rates much sooner, because there was a time, the last budget, their 2-year budget cycle, we didn't get budget documents until mid-May, and it had to be approved. And this is a $1.7 billion budget. The board had basically 4 weeks, and they compressed these little workshops into this crazy schedule in June, which doesn't go over too well because, you know, there's a lot to digest there and try to get through it. So this year in February, they gave us kind of their outlook of what they're looking at. And I wish I had better news, but the Water Authority right now is proposing a 14% increase, average increase in rates starting in January 2024. They cited a number of reasons: the Lake Hodges Dam, the cost of treating water at the Twin Oaks plant. The Twin Oaks plant, which is just south of our service area, treats water that goes south of us, and it's running only at about 25% capacity, where it used to be when they first constructed that 20 plus years ago, about 20 years ago. Their cost to treat water was lower than Met's cost. Right now, Met's running around $330 an acre foot. The Twin Oaks plant, when you include debt service and everything else, is at like $550 an acre foot to treat water. When you throw the cost of the desal plant modifications that are now getting going, and that water is going to be about $4,000 an acre foot, the cost to treat water is going way up. And so we don't get the water from that plant, and yet we get to pay that rate. You know, our water comes from the Skinner plant, which is still $300, 300 plus. One of the things, and it's last time when they had this happen, they indicated that the average all-in rate increase was going to be a little over 6%. But when we look at the details, ours was more like 8.5%. So we haven't got that level of detail from them yet. They say it's early; these things may change, but there's no specific cost that any member agency pays. And Andrea can back me up on this. Every member agency pays a different rate based on their particular type of purchases and the history of purchases and things like that. And so exactly what our increase will be is TBD, although it's almost certain to be significantly higher than the 5, 6, 7% increases they had in the model that we got last year from them showing their forecasted rate increases. So it's disappointing. It does demonstrate that it's likely that all of our calculations on savings from detachment are low, because those costs are going up, and those costs would be avoided upon detachment. But I think the other notable thing about what the Water Authority did is that we've been telling them for years and years and years that they've been forecasting sales too high, because they, one of the reasons they forecast your rate to be a certain way is that they forecast they're going to sell more water than they actually do. And that's been happening for years. This time, they're forecasting 360,000 acre feet of water sales, which is refreshing to see, because it's not 400 or 440 or some crazy number like that. The problem with that is that the Water Authority has take or pay contracts for 330,000 acre feet of water. And so now they're got over 90% of their portfolio in take or pay contracts, where if water demand goes down by 10% from this forecast, then we're paying for water that we don't take. And so the city of San Diego and several of us 2 years ago pushed the Water Authority to start looking to ways to offload or find a different buyer for those, or somehow mitigate that impact. That's the worst thing you can do in a water supply situation, is to pay for water you don't get. Take or pay contracts, in my opinion, shouldn't make up more than 50, maybe 60% of your portfolio, because weather and state mandates or whatever come down the pike you can swing 15-20% real easy on those sorts of situations. But so they find themselves in a precarious situation. It'll be interesting as this process plays out over the spring, where they end up. It's highlighting the fact that this 360,000 acre feet is before East Valley project goes online, which is under construction, before Pure Water San Diego, which alone, the first phase, I think, is 30,000 acre feet a year. That
10%.
one alone will take us down into take or pay, so that the clock is ticking. I thought that we would hit the take or pay numbers before the end of this decade. I think we might hit it in the next 2-3 years. And so that's a significant concern for all the member agencies, and perhaps the water authority staff is coming around to it. They've been very resistant. I've been harping on this topic for, as those of you who heard me talk, for years. But maybe we're finally going to get real down there, which would be a relief, because it's a problem. And, you know, there may not be great solutions, but at least if you recognize you have a problem, you'll at least work towards solutions, as opposed to saying, there's nothing to see there, and take it from there. So it'll be an interesting next couple months as this thing plays out. That's my report.
CSDA,
Yes, we had a quarterly meeting almost 2 weeks ago. As usual, was another very good speakers they had. They had 3 people that were talking about the mental health issues that are going in San Diego County. It was a panel of 3, and they were asking specific questions of how's it going and how's staffing. And there was a couple of things that was very hit with me, that they're predicting there are, I believe it was 9,000 at this moment, understaffed of mental health people to help. And the other thing was, which I didn't really quite understand, Tri-City just built a brand new mental health building, and they were only allowed to have 16 beds, because anything more than 16 beds, then federal or state got into things, which then it prohibits them to do things.
federal funds aren't available.
Yeah, so which is a shame, the limitations they have, but it was very well eye-opening. All 3 were excellent speakers, especially the one gentleman. So it was very knowledgeable, and it kind of moved you to hear what's really going on in the county.
I think it was also great to be back in the butcher shop.
Yep.
Yeah,
After
the
a
food was good.
Yes.
2+ year hiatus in the wilderness.
But we are facing a mental health crisis, according to them, at 18 to 20,000 healthcare providers required in the county over the next couple of years.
Well, I'll tell you, you drive around the streets of San Diego,
There you
here in
go.
Escondido, it's on full
It's even
display.
started in Fallbrook, for God's sakes.
No action on Santa Margarita River Watershed Steering Committee. Next meeting is in April. Aqua.
Yes. Yeah, coming up I guess a legislative, one-day legislative seminar, if you will, get together in Sacramento. I'm set up to attend. Couple of highlights from Aqua. They launched a nonprofit foundation to advance workforce and leadership development in the water industry. So, that's something that hopefully as it evolves, it's something we can tap into for our needs on the district. Got the monthly where they went through a review of 22, I guess, year in review. And here we show up for the Gila hydrant. So as an innovative project. So continuing to do cutting edge work. I guess that's about it right now.
Okay, cool. Meetings, workshops, committees, seminars, reports by directors, AB 1, 2, 3, 4. Are there any reports in this area? Any directors' comments? Legal counsel.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I did a written report and update on 2 different new laws. The first topic was SB 1162, the new pay transparency law. And the second, the State Water Board's new sewer system waste discharge requirement. So the pay transparency law took effect last month and has a number of requirements for job postings that must include pay scale information and requirements to provide employees with pay scale information upon request for their positions. It also provided updates to records retention requirements. So, agencies are required now to the job title and wage rate history documents for each employee must be retained for the duration of employment plus 3 years after the employment ends. And that's consistent with the district's current records retention schedule. And the other new law was the sewer system waste discharge requirement. And this is an update on the State Water Board's order. And this new update has more intensive requirements than the prior order, basically expanding the regulations to protect waters of the state, which goes back to the Clean Water Act update that we discussed last month, and expands the provisions for both discharges and spills to waters of the state. And it includes a new requirement for addressing climate change impacts. And it provides updates to the requirements for sewer system management plans, audits, spill reporting, new sampling requirements. So these new updates will be incorporated into future sewer system management plans that the board regularly approves. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Does this sewer thing have any impact on us financially?
Not at this point for us. I mean, we manage within those guidelines now, but don't spill.
Yeah.
Although that happens when it gets to raining.
It wouldn't go back.
Pardon?
One go back
Okay.
on the directors. I had an opportunity to sit and talk with Chief Reynolds from North County Fire Protection District and one of his deputies, and got an opportunity to get a little better insight into the impact or non-impact as it's evolving of the ISO. But he's definitely interested in seeing his board get together with ours and supporting our strategic planning efforts. One point that he did make was that his responsibility is primarily urban, and there's a lot of wildlands that would be CAL FIRE. So that may be somebody else we need to reach out to when we go through our strategic planning efforts. So I got his card, and Cindy Acosta is the president of the board. And so I owe you a letter to send her way so we can try and
Cool.
get things rolling and integrate, interfacing with them. That's it.
All righty. Committee reports. Flint, I'll let you go first.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. First of all, I apologize for my phone going off a moment ago. It is a 2-day-old phone. I am still trying to figure out how it works. I thought I had muted everything, and it's the first new phone I've had in 13 years. So there's quite a difference. So
You
my
went from a
apologies.
flip phone to a smartphone.
Yeah, but you have to be a smart person, and that's not me. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so the Engineering and Operations Committee met on Wednesday, February 1st, and we took action on 2 items that you have on your consent calendar today, your items number 19 and 20, and the committee did recommend that you adopt those items. We also had a very interesting discussion of meter accuracy and water loss calculations, and I'm sure you'll be hearing more about that forthwith. And the final thing we did is we appointed the chairperson and the vice chairperson, and the committee chose to make no changes from the prior year. We also got a very good, I hope you guys get it at some point, very good CIP update. The staff has gotten a really good set of software that allows them to make some presentations that are very, very easy to understand and allows us to get a good glimpse of where we are with the capital project. So that's that. On Tuesday, February 8th, the Budget and Finance Committee met, and I was the only member in attendance, and so we were unable to achieve a quorum, and therefore we could not conduct any official business. You have several items on your calendar that were on our calendar, and so unfortunately, we were unable to make any recommendations to you on those items. Thank you.
Thank you. Communications and customer services met on the 2nd of February. Tom gave us an update on Colorado River status and what's going on at LAFCO as we knew it earlier in the month. Subject to change, as we all know. We reviewed basically some of the standard items we have on the agenda and are looking at scrubbing some of those. The things we did talk about were the planned field trips. We're trying to coordinate with the schools for being a STEM program participant, if you will, to have training programs here to create awareness on what it means to turn on your tap. We also were asked some questions which unfortunately couldn't be answered at the time because we're also in a transition in terms of the Rainbow staff member that participates. Cynthia has been a long-term member of the communications committee and has unfortunately retired, but we are recruiting her back to the committee. Item number 28 that is deferred because she's off enjoying retirement right now. Some of the questions that were asked were what's adoption on bill pay? What are the numbers? How do we promote bill pay to get more people to do online payments versus coming in through the door? We looked at communications activities, particularly relative to setting up a email distribution. And one of the aspects there is something that Pam's very familiar with that we discussed is how do we reach out to Rainbow Water users that aren't ratepayers? For example, in your condominiums and things like that over by the track, those people turn over frequently, but at the same time, we need to be able to reach out and communicate with them. So we're exploring ways to generate a mail list or a communication list that will allow us to get information into the non-ratepayer users in our community. We also talked about the possibility of looking at volunteer help, trying to see if there was some way that we could encourage and get either high school students or things like that to volunteer to get more familiar. Gives us a little bit of help, but it also exposes people to, what it is to have a practical application. We obviously need to work with Carlene on a lot of those issues to understand what we can and can't do, but exploring those. And then the various communication channels, reviewing those and how we can effectively use the various communication channels that are out there. And the committee recommended that we nominate Cynthia to the board as a member. And that will happen at an upcoming meeting. All right, consent calendar items. We have 3. There's a notice of completion and acceptance of the Rainbow Valley Boulevard Cathodic Protection project, a notice of completion and acceptance of the infrastructure in Malabar Ranch Estates by Malabar Ranching LLC, and consideration of approval of an agreement to assume joint agreement to improve major subdivision joint link contract and holding agreement for San Diego tract number 4736-1, which is the Bonzel Oaks development. Unless there's any discussion, we can just accept. No votes required, correct?
No, we have to take a motion and vote.
Okay, and do I have a motion?
On each one or?
No.
No, on all
One
3.
One vote.
I move that we accept all 3, 19, 20, 21.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Moss, seconded by Director Mack. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Presentation, sewer rate adjustments.
I'm gonna
Yes.
have Tracy take this with,
We have Andrea Bowling here with IB Consulting. She's going to be presenting our sewer rate adjustments that we've been going over together and with the Budget and Finance Committee. We wanted to take this opportunity to show you where we're at with the study and get any input from the board. We don't have any action on this item, but we're going to be coming back in March to open the hearing with the direction from the board.
Thank you so much for having me. Again, as I mentioned, I'm Andrea Bowling with IB Consulting. Just to give you a little bit of background, in January of 2018, that was when your last wastewater rate study was completed. Okay. That study proposed rates from fiscal year 2018 through fiscal year 2022. They did recommend 7.5% adjustments each year. The board decided at that time to only adopt 1 year of that 5-year rate schedule. Okay. Those rates went into effect on March 1st of 2018. During calendar year 2018, there was a little bit of district turnover. We brought on Tracy, great addition to the team. In 2019, the rates remained at the 2018 rates. Years 2 through 5 of the proposed rate increases were not revisited by the board or brought to the board. And then in 2020 through 2022, district staff, as you guys have known, have been highly involved in trying to get the detachment from San Diego County Water Authority. You guys also have been focused most recently on those really big capital projects for wastewater, the Thoroughbred pump station and pipeline repairs. You guys hired us in the fall of 2022 to do a wastewater financial plan and rate study. We did do a financial plan workshop in January. We are proposing to come back to you guys with rates, hopefully, if we can all come to consensus, effective for July. Okay. What I would like to say is that this is the workshop. So if you guys have any questions, please interrupt me. Any dialogue that you guys need to have, just go ahead and jump right in.
Our meeting right now is a workshop.
I'm considering it a workshop. Yeah.
Accurate.
Just a workshop.
Yeah.
I think one of the things when we got into 2019, we're already looking toward detachment, and part of the board's we're gonna say, we're gonna hold the line on rates, things like that. Then the pandemic happened. And then the other thing is that we had very healthy wastewater reserves. And then when we got the Thoroughbred lift station project, even with the $10 million we got from RD. Right.
They were healthy enough that during the last water rate study, we were anticipating potentially taking a loan from wastewater. So they were very, very healthy. So what you see here were the previously proposed wastewater charges. As I mentioned, we're at the fiscal year 2018 rates of $55.07 per EDU, which is an equivalent dwelling unit. From fiscal year 2018, from 19 to 2022, that would have been a 34% cumulative increase. Okay, but we're back here at 2018. So what does that mean? So we looked at your financial plan. There's a lot that goes into financial planning. We look at your expense projections. We look line item by line item in your budget, and we go through and we escalate those costs based off of various assumptions and escalations. We want to make sure that we account for any flow demand changes, any account growth or system changes that are happening within your district. We also want to look at revenue projections, both operating and non-operating. One of the biggest items of any wastewater or water rate utility is going to be your capital spending. So we want to look for that and factor that into the capital plan. And then another key item is your reserve funding. We want to make sure that we have funds set aside in case there's any unforeseen breaks or maybe your billing system goes down, anything like that. We want to make sure that you guys have funds on hand that can cover those time periods. Some of the key assumptions that we included in our financial plan, we're assuming 0% growth. I think this is a pretty key assumption moving into the period that we're in right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know really what's going to happen. And if we put growth into the model, then we're relying on that to occur to meet your revenue needs. Okay, we don't want to do that. We want to be conservative and make sure that we're not overstating how many accounts we're going to have come online. Reserve interest rate is very modest at 1%. Cost escalations, we're assuming salaries is going to increase by 5%, benefits of 3%. Capital construction, any capital related costs, we kept high for the first 2 years at 7%. And that was based off of the most recently completed inflationary period. And then we drop it back down in fiscal year 2026 and beyond to match up with the 5-year average ENR, which is Engineers News Record Construction Cost Index. And we use that because it more aligns closely with what you guys would use, steel, cement, pipe, those kind of costs. General, we did the same thing for 2024 and 2025. We left it higher for two years. And then we brought it back down to match the 5-year average of the CPI for San Diego. Okay. Energy, we escalated by 5% each year. We did see very high costs this last year in energy, but that's already accounted for in your budget. Go ahead.
Would energy also be considered gasoline?
Yes, it would be anything that, yeah. So again, like that, we're using fiscal year 2023 right now in our budget. So those are our baseline and those already account for this most recent higher costs that we've seen.
What about proposed increases? I've just gotten a notice.
Yeah.
that SDG&E wants to raise their rates by 17% in 2023. And 7 to 8% in the years following.
Right now, we're assuming 5%. It's an adjustment in the model. It's an input. If we need to go higher, we absolutely can. That's one of the feedback that you guys can decide to go with.
I guess we have to take a look at which tariffs, because we're on some other tariffs than the normal residential stuff. And so those are hitting the same tariff.
That also goes into, the 7% or 3.5% cost of living index is based on an average. And my question is, are we seeing that average consistent across industries? What I'm seeing in the horse business, if you will,
Sure.
30%.
Yeah, we see different, some materials are skyrocketing, some are going up at different rates. It's the model can't anticipate every little thing, but we can definitely make these tweaks in there to.
Well, are there indexes that are more specific to our industry needs?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, what we do is talk to some of like our purchasing people and try to get a sense, but for wastewater, primarily energy, because we're not buying a lot of supplies, things like that. Capital costs are the ones that would be
Most impacted.
most impacted.
Those are my only thoughts.
Okay.
Is I'm concerned that those numbers are soft.
Okay.
Cost.
I see that Tracy's
done a
taking
lot
notes
of-
for you.
I am.
We've done a lot of major improvements in the last 6 to 8 years since Tom has been here. What is our anticipated capital improvement project rate?
That's coming up.
Oh, we're gonna get there.
Good lead in.
That is a
Pam.
good lead in.
Queuing it up.
So your treatment is sent to Oceanside. We're escalating that at 6% right now. And then keep in mind, this is one of your big costs too. I'm just letting you know there, it's about 35% of your operating costs are just straight pass through, just like San Diego County Water Authority is on the water side. Okay, so it's completely outside of your guys' control. And you can implement a pass-through provision. I know we do on the water side. I'm assuming on the wastewater side, you'd want to do something similar so that if it goes up by more than that 6%, you can just directly pass it through to your customers. So this is what you're going to see visually. This is your operating financial plan. So what it shows is the black solid line going across is your existing revenues today. There's no increases because we're just assuming you don't change rates. This is if you do nothing, okay? What you see in the dotted red trend line, that is your projected expenditures. And the difference between would be your net operating cash flow. Not super great right now. So right now you're operating at a deficit of about $765K in fiscal year 2023. And this does not account for any capital funding. This is just operating. And again, keep in mind, no rates have been adjusted for about 5 years. This was the capital plan that was provided, and this is what we are assuming for the planning period. But what you see there in that first year, we're basically capturing almost all of that thoroughbred lane lift station and pipeline repair. That's mostly CFD funded, which is what you can see in orange. So it should have really no rate impact to your customers. Okay, so that would be your capital spending plan. You guys good? You're looking at it. Go ahead.
Do we have some kind of a projection from Oceanside of what kind of increases we might be seeing in the future?
They sometimes surprise us with their capital bill every year. Tracy might have more insight into
It's-
how Oceanside finances work.
It's a mystery how they calculate that. But yeah, they do push through the actual costs that are incurred to run the facility. So it's going to be a similar escalation.
Yeah.
So what are the major capital improvements that we see there on the purple in the 28? Et cetera.
I have
Yeah,
it
so
in the back
this
if
is
you
going to be
need.
adjusted as we go forward.
Yeah.
She's got another one.
So this is what was planned. Tracy, do you want to jump in there or do you want me?
Oh,
to
yeah,
keep
I was
going?
just
Okay.
gonna identify what some of those are. It's a Old River Road between lift station 1 and 2, some lining and pipe replacement, and a dry well. They're items that weren't quite as important as lift station 1, and they were ones that we have met with operations and wastewater that could be pushed out.
Push out unless some additional development comes through, like there's Ocean Breeze, there's Campus Park West who say they're going to build. We're just assuming they're not going to build. And they keep telling us, oh, we're going to have occupancy by 2025 over here at the shopping center. That'll be several $1 million coming in. This model assumes none of that. If it does, everything's gravy, but we just waiting for development to start is fool's errand.
So we still have them on the list so that we've prioritized them. We know what ones we will do if some of that capacity fee comes in. Some other ones on here are manhole replacement, a wet well expansion.
Okay.
So if we had funded all that capital and you're operating at that deficit and we don't increase rates, this is ending reserve balances. So you can see that without adjustments, basically within a year, you guys would probably impact your operating and certainly have to defer that capital. Those reserves that you were showing, this is what it's made up of. Okay, you guys have basically 2 reserves for wastewater, operating and capital. It's very standard and typical for wastewater agencies to have these 2. Your beginning balances you can see there for fiscal year 2023 were $720K for operating and $634 for capital. And then what I'm breaking it down is your minimum. That's the bare minimum where you guys want to be based off of your policies. And then the target. And they're perfectly in line with exactly what we'd recommend.
And
Yeah.
that capital beginning balance, we pulled in $8 million right after the first of the year on that from the 10 million.
So what's the operating and capital reserves for districts our size? And also then for the industry?
So they should be based off of your utility. So that's what we're doing here. So the 60 days is the minimum. That's where you want to be. So because you're wastewater, you want to be 6 days of operating, you want to have in cash reserves, somewhere between 60 and 90. If you guys decided to go, and it's one of the items that we were going to bring up, if you decided to put it on the property tax roll, you would want to have a little bit bigger bandwidth there because, whoops, I didn't do it. Because there's going to be delays in payments, right? You only receive your revenues every so often. So you want to make sure that you have additional funds there on hand. Capital, it's very common to see 1 year or 5 years of your forward-looking CIP. So you look ahead and you're like, okay, we know how much is coming. We want to at least have 1 year of that so that we can fund it and keep on going as those come due. Right now, for this period that you're in, we're in a kind of a tough situation. So I'd recommend at least in a minimum funding your depreciation. So depreciation is kind of like a bare minimum. We know it's not going to fund all your replacement of your assets, but it will keep you in a good spot.
And with lift station 1, we needed a significantly higher amount than that because of the size of the project.
Right.
Yeah, that's the largest wastewater project this district's ever done
Right.
by a
Yeah.
long stretch.
Yeah.
The Caltrans work when they did the new pipeline along Caltrans, that was funded through Caltrans. That would have had a similar cost to us, but thankfully that one paid for by Caltrans. But this is the largest wastewater project we have done and probably will do for quite a long time at $17 million.
And as noted by Robert's letter to the board,
Yes.
it's entirely necessary.
Oh, yeah. That would have come in real handy. That
Oh,
extra
yeah.
350,000 gallons of wet weather storage. We had a small spill on Saturday night during all the rains. and had to truck 120,000 gallons of wastewater when the creeks were flooding some wastewater areas. So having an extra wide spot to put wastewater during those rare but sharp peak events would have been super handy.
So
It's gonna be done by next winter, right, Chad?
Chad and I are keeping track. I sent him pictures.
So along those lines, those big capital projects like that, if you had to rate fund it, you would look into the future and you would build up so that you could do it in a measured approach. You guys had a lot of CFD funds that covered, was it all of it or most of it? It was a big chunk of it. So then what you see there is what those means in terms of dollars, right? It's great to say, oh, 60 days. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that it's about 750 for operating and then a target of 1.1 million. So that's where we want to be, somewhere within that bandwidth. Capital, I have it at 860K to 1.7 million. So basically you want to have about 2.8 million in reserves for wastewater.
Can I ask the question? What major capital improvement projects that we have not done in the last so many years since you took us out of the dark ages?
Well, I mean, it hasn't been a whole lot. When I first started here, they were building out Highway 76. That was a big
Right,
wastewater
that's-
project there. This one was the biggie. It's a lot of it's been surrounding dealing with the new development piece of the 15. And one of the financial predicaments we got in is that those guys, except for the CFD money we got, a lot of the development didn't pay any capacity fees whatsoever because there were deals brokered in the mid 80s
With HP, yeah.
that kept getting carried along for 30 years that put us at a disadvantage. Matter of fact, some of the assets that were contributed in the 80s to get that sewer capacity are being replaced by all these projects. That's how long ago it was. So it's that kind of put us under the 8 ball a little bit. Now my head's
No, you're fine.
but there's some other stuff. There's a lift station up off of Gird Road that Fallbrook Oaks that needs some rehabilitation. We'd like to do some more lining of manholes. We'd like to do some more sewer rehab with the in situ rehab. There's not big capital projects, but there's a lot of small 800 grand here.
Undone ones, so to speak.
Little ones, but the core challenge we face, especially when it rains, is getting the water from here all the way to the treatment plant. And Oceanside, I don't know how many of you have been to that treatment plant, but you got to drive down the 76 for a ways to get there. And it's
No, I know where it is.
it's a haul to get it there. And so that's our number one thing, is to be able to safely convey the wastewater out of the district. The onesie twosie neighborhoods don't cause big problems. I mean, the sewer spill is bad and wherever it is, but it's not 800 gallons a minute problem, the focus we've had is on the main trunk infrastructure from A to B. And so that's where we're focused.
So my comment as taking my board of directors hat off and putting my real estate hat on and is I think we buy a little bit of time here, like probably 2 or 3 years before we're going to see major online new development. Just based upon my outside knowledge.
Yeah. Well, I try not to hold my breath for new development because Chad and I have sat in rooms with these guys saying, we're grading this summer. That was 2 summers ago.
I get blamed for holding them up and then they don't start them.
So this is conservative. And so as part of that conservatism, any what would you call it? Fed or state funding that's out there is not included in this?
Correct.
Okay.
Amelia and I, our grants person, had a meeting with Daryl Ice's office, a Zoom. He was the DC, and there's a federal bill. I can't remember. I don't know if Amelia's on, but what the exact bill was. But they have one that it came through. One of the infrastructure things were passed by Congress last year. They're looking for shovel ready things that could be spent. The funding program starts this. The applications will be this spring, and they want to start funding it next fiscal year. We're putting in the maximum you can do is $3.5 million. We don't know if they're going to give everybody the maximum, but we're putting in for that for the Station 1 project. Because obviously this one is here to improve the sewer system, prevent wastewater overflows, which had it been completed, would have prevented a wastewater overflow on Saturday night. Small one, a couple thousand guys. And so if that comes in, obviously everything's better from there. So when she gives you the rate forecasts, there's gonna be, you know, a big one and some smaller ones. Anything that different that changes, the future ones all get smaller or however we want to do. You know, we're trying to get to those reserve levels. However you get there is how you get there.
Yeah.
But the way we see the economy going and the housing's slowing down a bit, and I saw that the front page on one of the newspaper today was like, you know, there's almost nothing being sold and prices are going down and then the interest rates are going up, and it's not a good thing.
Not here.
And so,
We have no inventory.
yeah.
I mean, literally, there's 11 houses on the market in Bonsall in the entire area. That's it.
Wow. All right, go ahead.
So based off of that, again, many agencies, this isn't just you guys. I've seen a lot of agencies recently that held off for a year or two or even 3 due to COVID. Our clients are now increasing their rates to what was either previously noticed or doing all new rate studies because they held off and because rates are compounding effect. That means the longer you delay it, the more impactful it is. So the earlier you get them in, the better. District wastewater rates have not been increased for 5 years. In fiscal year 2023, that operating deficit of $765K, if you guys had previously adopted those proposed rates or if they were implemented, they would have generated about 1.1 million. So, you know, you would have been right on target with basically where you're at. You would have had a little bit of net operating cash flow that could then go to help try to fund the capital. So what do we need to do? So for our proposed financial plan, we need to meet 3 main objectives. We definitely need to eliminate the operating deficit first and foremost. We want to fund operating reserves and then build up funding in that capital reserve. And how are we going to do this? We're going to obviously adjust rates to cover the deficit. And again, we need to do that immediately because we can't continue to operate that way. And then unfortunately, we're going to have to recommend that cut costs. So that's either deferring capital or something that's not critical. And so with that, the major assumption in this financial plan is that we are deferring capital for the 5-year period. So what you see there is the original CIP by year, what depreciation would be, and where we're ultimately going to be if you guys agree to it is to defer CIP. As long as there's no major concerns, which we've talked with staff, you know, quite a bit. We brought it to the finance committee once. You know, if there's no critical assets or construction capital projects that need to happen, defer it for the 5 years to get past this deficit period.
And that's just if no developer funds do come in.
Correct.
With growth.
So anytime you have developer funds come in, they can help fund that capital. Those can go on as anticipated. And it
Basically let demand drive CIP.
Correct.
just for this 5-year period. Okay, and so what that would look like if we were just going to meet that minimum operating reserve, which is that 60 days only by year 5. That's that first row that you see there where you'd see a 35% followed by 4.5. That's not what I'm recommending. That's like absolutely bare minimum. If you wanted to meet your operating and your capital minimum, that's 60 days of operating and 1 year of what I'm saying in this instance is 1 year of depreciation. You'd be 35% followed by the 6.5. But we are recommending that you do with the 40% followed by 7.5%. So what does that mean? These are revenue adjustments, not necessarily rate adjustments. This is the additional revenue that is needed by those rates. So right now you're at the existing the 5507 per EDU for single family. If we did a 40% revenue adjustment for your EDUs, that's going to result in 6904 on that last scenario there. And you can see what it'd be there each year thereafter. And we can come back to it, but and what does that mean for your reserves and your proposed financial plan? That means by fiscal year 2025, you're going to meet that minimum operating reserve, which is a good first step. And then by the 5-year period, which is fiscal year 2028, you're going to meet your targets. And again, this assumes no CIP funding. You know, if you have CIP projects that have to come in and you don't have developer funding, it's going to draw these reserves back down. Okay. But we actually want to be above that target so that you can then start funding your capital again. Anything above those lines can go directly towards capital. So that's where we want to build you back up so that, again, you can start phasing it in. I'm going to skip past this and go to your regional rate comparisons. So that 6904, again, that assumes a 40% revenue adjustment in year one. You can see the dark purple there is what we're proposing. This is a regional comparison for residential monthly wastewater bills. You're currently at the far, far left. The prior study would have had you guys at 7358. And again, that's because they're funding capital and they had fewer EDUs to spread it over. You guys have had growth. I don't know what the magnitude is, but over the last 5 years, you've had significant growth.
Right.
So that's helped a little bit. Yeah.
So,
Fallbrook's at 135 right now.
They have more residential. They're 70% residential. We're 30.
yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Well,
So-
we had
so-
very high sewer rates.
You
That's
don't-
What are the, where's the list of the capital projects that we're zeroing out?
I believe I had
Yeah.
it in a, do I have it in a slide?
I have. a
Oh,
list
it's hidden.
in attachment B of your mid-year budget adjustments.
So
You
on on the board packet?
Yeah.
Which page is that?
Oh, dear.
It's actually in there twice. So let me look.
But all I see is, oh, it's that slide there. Yeah.
It's on page 180. Looks like 182
It's hidden, so I don't know that it will go in slides. to show
I don't
you.
Goes to.
or 149. There's two different.
We have it up on the screen as.
I'm trying.
Good.
Matt is trying. Should I go back? Put it in the backup slides. just in case.
I think she's gonna pull it up here.
There it is.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, if you could read that.
Right there.
Yeah,
Oh, do I need to make it
We
bigger?
have it on the screen now too.
okay.
So when you look at these,
Yeah,
yeah, there's a manhole rehabilitation there. There's a coating or a lining of some the Palomesa pipeline. There's an emergency generator at the Rancho Montserrat lift station to replace it. And then some CIPP lining. The big one, Old River Road between lift station 1 and 2. That's one that in the Dexter Wilson study is to be phased in at the next level of next tranche of development comes in. And so while it'd be great to do that now, the system will run. Now we're running at a, full to the gills when we're running hard.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice for it to be larger, but it has to be larger if another tranche of development comes in. And so that's in the phasing plan that they've got going on there. So a lot of small.
But that
smaller-
development will also help fund that as well.
Correct. So when they come in and they give us, we either make that part of the condition of the approval and capacity fees, or depending on the situation, just take their capacity fees and push it toward that.
so what's the risk level for each one of those projects?
They're all fairly low. The biggest risk we have right now is wet weather flows, because we don't have enough storage capacity, and the Thoroughbred lift station is going to resolve that. Like we said earlier, the big rains we had over the weekend, we had to truck 120,000 gallons of wastewater just because we couldn't push it down. North River Road is only 15-inch pipe, and we can only shove so much down there at once. Pumps can easily push more, but the pipe is not large enough. And so, but the peaks happen they go up and they come back down. So storage capacity, there's 350, I think it is, the 380,000 gallons, so triple what we would have needed at Thoroughbred. If that was in place, we wouldn't have that spill. Sometime in the future, more bigger development comes, that pipe's gonna have to be upsized, but that goes under the river and over hill and dale. That's a very, very expensive project.
Prices, yeah.
So are you saying what we're building now will still have to be enlarged?
No, what we're
No.
building now
Thank
for
you.
the development.
I was not. quite
It will
sure.
handle the constraints of North River Road during wet weather periods.
Got it.
So it's a overflow basin that big thing.
That's what I was thinking,
That
but I
thing that's behind
needed
that
to know.
picture. In there, 380,000 gallons, when it starts flooding in, they just stop pumping from
Divert
there and let the system die down on the downstream of it, then move it out and be able to manage it. So those big peaks where it goes.
You taught me
Because once the peak passes and then the rain stops actively coming in, then it slows down. So we met with Ramon and Robert and the whole crews, and these are all nice to have. Would
Yeah.
be great to have, and in the long run, we definitely need to have. but they're not going to add the risk of spill because that's our major risk.
So the risk, so the intrusion of water into the system, which causes that peak.
Mhm.
What program is one of these projects part of a
Some of those,
program
the
to
lining-
mitigate that?
The lining projects are some of those. We have some of the old cast iron clay pipe that it just kind of seeps in. We found one over by Column Mesa
Right,
the other
right,
day that they caught and repaired. They found over here on the Caltrans yard where there was a stub out that somehow had been opened up and rainwater was just coming in, a sewer lateral that had been.
Oh,
I don't have the full report, and Robert's at a CSDA leadership training today, so he can't give the full report. But that they found, I saw the video, that a huge stream of water coming in a sewer lateral from the stormwater, which they capped. And it's going to a vacant property right now. So it's trying to shake all these down. They're still reviewing all our smart cover data to see where we saw them. So the main culprits tend to be the pipelines that are in the creek, over by the model airplane area and over down Musa. And then also where we find these ones that pop up to where somehow a sewer lateral that was capped got uncapped, or every now and then homeowners get into them and do it. But it's an ongoing challenge, but it's less than it used to be, but it's still, when we have a long period of heavy rain, I mean, just the groundwater table comes up and it starts leaking in all the little spots where normally it doesn't come in.
I guess I'm just kind of uncomfortable with zeroing everything out. And I think there should be some kind of prioritization, especially as it contributes to reduction of risk.
It's certainly been a big discussion with the engineering team and our operations team and our committee and for sure going forward. And the trick is, we had 9 or 10 million in reserves. We got another, we had 8 million or so in reserves. We got the 8 million from Party or Tri-Point, but lift station 1, which originally was going to be in the 13-14 range, is now 16-17 because of cost escalations and our friends at the county and the whatnot. And so the padding we had is now gone.
This plan that we're recommending actually does build up reserves so that we could do some of the higher prioritized ones. I think Andrea is going to go back to the slide where you can see we're up to just over 3.5 million by fiscal year 28. And between 2 and 3 million by fiscal year 26-27.
That assumes no
Well,
other development.
And I was going to say, it sounds to me like in CIP, there's 2 different classes here. There's one that's developer driven or development driven. And that can be deferred relative to letting the development drive it. And then there's the other one, which is necessity to help manage and maintain the system.
Yes.
So basically, we're just pumping the brakes, hitting pause on some of the CIP, but still recommending a plan that's going to build up the reserves so we can make the decision in a year or two to do those high priority projects.
I'll just throw it out. The only way to, absent new development coming in or growth happening in the near term, to put more money in is to, rather than doing 35%, to do more. And that isn't what necessarily staff was trying to get us to, where how do we get there in a reasonable way? If you wanted to try to self-fund more CIP sooner, then you could put more. Now, what could also happen is that we could notice more in what's going to happen. The board can do up to that amount, right?
yes. So whatever we end up ultimately recommending and going forward with the board will be your max notice rate. You can always come in each year and come in under that,
So
and you don't
some
have to
new grant
renotice.
money or something comes along that we're anticipating, we're working on, but we don't know. And I don't like to count chickens before they hatch.
Right.
But this is the worst case scenario: no growth, no new development, and no other outside sources of funding. So if you wanted to try to get the capital reserves up faster, the only way to do that is to raise rates higher. And but it still takes time, because let's say the bills start going out in July 1, that still takes a while for all those bills to come in to build it, but it goes faster if the rates are higher.
And keep in mind that 40% is really, that 35% is just to get over that operating deficit. And then after that, you can start, funding your capital.
So Tom, reiterate for me that, or whoever, that I'm going to use round numbers. So let's just say that we can go up to 45%, but right now we choose to do 38. That still gives us room to go more. Is that correct? Am I understanding
And
that
under the-
properly?
Under Prop 218, and Alfred can weigh in on this as he likes, but when you give a noticed rate, that's the maximum you can do it. So this is why we tried to do these 5-year forecasts. And we brought forward, we think we need to do it this much per year based on our plan. There are people who were 2 or 3 years into their 5-year Prop 218 notices who are having to go back out because inflation overtook them. Their model said
Yeah.
inflation is going to be 3%. Well, all of a sudden it was 8%.
Yep.
And then everybody went, whoa, that's a new one. And so they're having to go back and do another notice because they can't go above that amount. You can always go below.
So this
I
is all Prop 218 driven.
Driven.
got
And-
it.
And one of the reasons to do it a 5-year notice is so that we can not go through the whole process and have a new process.
Right.
study And all the costs. of doing it, all the
That's what I was
meetings.
wanting you to
And,
reiterate to me.
It wasn't staff's recommendation, that meeting, to only do 1 year.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, just based upon the 2020 plan and the available quote unquote developable land in my little world of Bonsall and Morro Hills, et cetera, we already know where the major growth is going to occur. It's going to be Vessels and Bonsall Oaks. Morro Hills isn't going to, because that's an ag reserve. So that gives us a
And
pretty
the,
good,
shopping center.
yeah, the shopping center. But I mean, that gives us a pretty good look of
But when?
what, no, wait. But so my thought process is to go for the maximum notice now, but not necessarily
Right.
make that where we start. It's
It's we
On
can
the
go up
way.
To
exactly, that's where my,
it caps what we can do.
exactly. But that's my thought process. We know where the development's coming. Is it going to be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? That's, if I had that ability to forecast, I'd be the richest lady in this room.
If I believed every developer, everything would have been done. by now.
Well, there's some serious money behind Vessels and there's some serious new money behind Bonsall Oaks.
Well, that
So
was what you just approved in the
Consent
consent calendar. So that's some serious money then.
They aren't on sewer, are they?
How's it look?
Yes.
Yeah.
yes, Bonsall Oaks.
Yeah, it goes down in Little Grove Canyon.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
Crazy.
So I know that you guys aren't taking action item, but I listed it as such. I'm saying, hey, are you guys comfortable deferring the CIP? If we need to come back and try to roll it back in, then I need to know that sooner rather than later so that we can do that and show you an option. Again, is just it can increase those adjustments, and I don't believe you'd be able to do anything before 2026 in terms of capital. Just because there's just not going to be the money there for it. But we could do 240, then you'd probably still have a hard time. Okay, so I think we've heard
Cool.
that there was some concern, but
Financially, I like doing the higher rates every year for 5 years, but the public relations part of it is where it's difficult.
yeah,
We can't explain
Particularly
a
in this
first year
economy.
extreme amount, but even what we're proposing is going to be
it'd
difficult.
be hard.
It is
It's a hard
because
sell.
the new population that has moved in doesn't understand that there's not 10,000 people for every mile.
Right.
Yeah, but our rates are considerably less than I pay in Escondido. We're at 75.
Yeah, that one's fine.
But- but you- yeah.
Fallbrook's an outlier, that's for sure. But even Alevinheim and other people are urban.
You guys are on the lower end.
We're definitely on the lower end. Well, we wouldn't be but we just took a little pause there.
Right.
So I think the additional policy consideration here is one of the things that working with Andrea and then also through Alfred and the staff at Nossaman is that there is when I worked at Alevinheim, and I know that Lucadia wastewater and several others get their sewer funds collected on the tax roll. And then it shows up as a line item on everybody's property tax bill. And we've worked through the process and Tracy's been in contact with the county. Should this board decide that that's a good thing to do, we can do with this next rate adjustment in our noticing saying from here on out, it won't be on your water bill anymore. It'll show up on your property tax bill.
I'm going to make a comment on that. That's actually more palatable to the public
Yes, I agree.
than it is when they look at their water bill.
Yeah, it brings
Um,
some attention off of the.
Yeah, it's
rainbow
be
water.
50, it's gonna be $600 additional charge on their tax bill, or whatever their rate is, right?
Exactly.
And how do you decide who gets a sewer bill and not?
who's connected to the sewer. So we send them all the parcels that have a sewer connection with the EDUs. We send them $1. So we calculate it, send it correct.
Yeah, we do it in the Prop 218 notice. We have to list who all's getting charged and the amount. We have to have that to the county by August 10th.
And then we get that money in 2 or 3 chunks from the county
Yeah.
every year.
And we get it,
Across all parcels.
yeah, we get it regardless of,
Only parcels connected to sewer.
if they pay.
Yeah, that's right. You won't have to- Well, I mean, let me think.
And a large portion of other.
Patty and Pam, I think you
Bundle.
guys are on the sewer system, right?
Yeah,
You're.
yeah.
I think you.
Everybody around the racetrack, the high density is all sewer.
Sure.
Yeah.
The new houses, all of the new houses, all of the condos, all of the townhouses, all of the apartments, they're all on sewer.
So we do a similar process every year with our past due water bills.
Okay.
And I've actually done this process with prior position at the city. So it's pretty straightforward.
And so the county would be collecting the money. How much do they charge?
They don't,
Nothing?
No.
So, okay.
It's free.
They basically guarantee your money and then they keep the penalties when the people
Right.
end up not
People
paying.
don't pay.
Hey,
Our delinquency rate goes to 0.
Zero.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Well, there's also, and we're still working on this, there could be a way to do fixed charges for water. Certain fixed charges, the health and safety code thing, and I know there's been some legal discussion back and forth, but this is starting to become a topic. Where we could take certain water charges, like not our variable usage and things like
Right.
that, but the fixed charges or perhaps even water authority fixed charges, push it on the tax rolls. You know, this is our baby step here,
Mhm.
but it'll definitely everybody's still gonna pay the same amount, right? But nobody will pay a late charge. Well, to us, they may pay the county if they don't pay their property taxes. But the monthly water bill will go down because the sewer's no longer on there, but it'll show up at the twice a year on their property tax.
Right.
And they won't notice it.
Well,
Oh, no.
Trust me.
people
Yeah,
notice.
no.
Be a big chunk. No, it's
No.
six times 50, three or $400.
There's
Yeah,
a small
so-
cohort that will notice it.
There is.
There is,
The guys
but
at
they're not.
media Always told me that it showed up on the water, on the tax bill, did wastewater charges, but it didn't say from whom, or they give a phone number. And so there's a phone never rings at that place. Because everybody's
I love
charged and they don't.
Same thing with our water
So,
delinquency
well-
line item. It doesn't have our name or our phone number on the property tax bill.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to make another comment that as a rental owner, I don't care if it comes on the tax bill, I get it deducted.
Well, I would have to say, full disclosure, payments to us aren't deductible on your federal taxes.
I realize
That's
that.
if the salt reductions here in California kind of clipped everybody anyway, but
Yeah.
these aren't technically deductible. Do people deduct them?
Yes.
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 Are they legally deductible? I'm not a tax advisor. but I'm just saying,
You're
It's
not
due-
going to exercise your Wikipedia tax.
yeah, no, I'm not a tax advisor. So,
So are we supposed to be taking a vote on?
nope,
No,
we're just,
there's
we're
no
just.
difference.
No, we're gonna-
First, we want to
Just
get. your
looking for feedback.
We're
So
gonna
if
come
we
back
go back
March
and take
28th
mixed
with
in-
the actual
If
request
we
to
go
open
to
the hearing.
tax roll, is it going to require a ratepayer vote or anything like that?
Just a proper 218. notice.
It's still the
Under
same Prop
Health and Safety
218.
Code. It's not a new assessment. It's just a different way to
We
collect the
collect it.
revenue.
Okay.
And so,
So it'll go
standard
through as
rate
part of
payment.
our rate hearing on our
Yeah.
notice.
Got it.
and they say, yeah, from here on out, it won't be on your monthly statement. It'll be on your preference.
Well, I like it because it's more palatable. It really is.
It reduces our cost some too.
Yeah.
Well, we
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have delinquency issues, but the same people that don't pay their sewer bill aren't paying their water bill. So we're having to.
Yeah, but I bet they're paying their tax bill.
Well,
If
if
they're
they
not,
don't,
they're
then
gonna-
that's it. They don't do it for 5 years, then the tax man
It's
sells.
called
it.
bye-bye. They're having that auction this
Yeah.
year, right?
So I guess what I'd like to see is an understanding of the risk.
Mhm.
Because you can't blanket every single one
Yeah,
of
yeah.
those items and say it's low. So I think we need
Exactly.
to see the risk of all those capital improvement projects and understand how they shake out. Okay.
That's a good
And,
point.
and then I just don't see the value in zeroing it out. Something
Well, then
needs to
what we'll
remain.
have to do is that
Yeah.
rather than that 40, it might be 45 and then 10 and there's something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we might, have
Right.
to- there's going to be a
right
give and take. there.
adjustment. I
But
guess
this again is
Yeah, I'd like to
conservative,
see
assuming
some
none of
small reserve.
Yeah, I mean, because I think
Yeah.
all of us have been either on the Budget and Finance Committee or the
Right.
board long enough to know how much capital improvements were deferred until Tom came on board, and it was a lot.
Yeah.
We had a ton of wastewater cap. Right before I got here, they lowered rates because their reserves were too.
Well, they never spent any money.
I know, never spent any money.
We
Got
had,
guys like Chad Malik here who can get it done.
yeah, well, that's why we have them here.
Hold on.
And so, and then I guess the last one is the interest rates that you show, a couple of years at 7%.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not,
I think those are soft.
I think there's a soft. Yeah.
So, all right, what we'll do is, Andrew will go back and make some tweaks on there and then we'll get with Robert and Ramon and figure out of those deferred CIP, which ones they think would have the most meaningful impact. I think you're
Yeah.
right. INI management is
Yeah.
key among those. And then have another round to say, all right, we bring these in and we change these rates. Now here's the number. And so then she'll give a couple options, pick and choose
Yep.
one of these. Because in order to meet the July 1 deadline.
Yeah.
We've got to get this stuff out in April so that the hearing can be held in June.
And we'll be coming back with water cost of service as well. So
Mhm.
this is going to overlap a little.
You can do it.
We have great faith.
I'm glad you guys have faith. We'll
I
get it
want to
done.
make
We'll get it
note
done.
that it did rain today. It's not raining currently. It did rain today. Every time
This
Andrea
morning.
comes, it rains,
Yeah.
right? He's the rainmaker.
Let's
Most
get her an
people-
office here.
Most people would like that. It's not a good thing for Rainbow.
California. We want dry weather. So we can fill some water.
Well, we thank you for your guys' input and feedback. That's really all I have.
Perfect.
So we'll come back with a couple options next time.
Good
Thanks.
job. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
Not the best news in the world, but
Could be worse.
Drive safe.
that's a fact.
Well, I remember in Budget and Finance Committee when we were looking at 22,000 acre feet instead of 13.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, you remember that.
Board action items, adopt resolution number 23-04, fixing the time and place of hearing and meeting on proposed water availability charges for improvement district number 1.
this is our standard thing for the
Thank-
$10.54 an acre or parcel that is collected.
$30.
What's that?
It's
10.
$30.
No, $10
you.
54 per acre or parcel. So. Was it
I don't-
10.54, Don?
Yeah.
10.54. It's been 10.54 since. I've been
Forever.
here.
That's what I thought too, but the supporting information was like $30 because I actually went back to see what
This
it was in
1054.
2018.
I think there's an example on there. If you have a 2 or 3 acre parcel, it's
Uh,
this amount.
It's 10 per acre. Okay. Anyway,
10 for,
it's the standard thing. It hasn't changed. That was.
It
my
hasn't
main-
changed in like
Yeah.
30 years.
but we have to have the hearing. We do this every year. There used to be 6 different improvement districts here. There's only one.
Thank God.
Any discussion? Is there a motion?
So move.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Gasca, seconded by Director Moss. All those in favor?
Is that option
Yep.
one?
Option
Option
We
one.
need to say what we're approving.
Sorry, option 1.
Resolution. number-
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 24, fiscal year 2022-2023 mid-year operating and capital budget review and adjustments.
So we just have some minor adjustments that we do at mid-year. We're bringing up the wastewater revenue estimate a little bit and adjusting within departments some of the operating expenses. So it brings the net operating budget increase to $50,000. Rather than go through a whole financial review of this, I thought I'd just leave the discussion kind of brief and come to you with more of a review when we do the water cost of service study in the next year's budget, which is going to be the next couple of months. And then also on the capital budget adjustments, we just had some timing changes. So it was a net capital increase of $175,000. So these are really minimal this year because we've gotten a lot better at budgeting and forecasting with having timely
18.
financial statements. So
Any other discussion, question? Is there a motion?
Do we need one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we need to adjust the budget.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended operating budget 22-23 as provided in attachment A with a projected net budget operating expense increase of $51,832 and water capital budget project increase of $175,000.
I'll second.
Director-
Also known as option one.
I appreciate that.
So you don't have to type all that out.
I think we should have made
There you
it.
did it. Bud.
Moved by Director Gasca, seconded by Director Mack. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Item number 25, consideration of request by the San Diego Local Area Formation Commission for additional funds for processing of the district's application for detachment from the San Diego County Water Authority and concurrent annexation to the Eastern Municipal Water District.
Well, as I had Tracy put this board letter together, so she can go through all the numbers, as you can see. Oh, Tracy, why don't you go ahead? Sorry. My bad.
So this board action is hopefully for LAFCO to wrap up the work that they're doing on our detachment. So what we did with this board action is just went through the different amounts that LAFCO has requested throughout the process and kind of summarized when those amounts were paid. And now they're coming with an additional $32,648 that they'd like us to pay. But it sounds like it's gonna be the last that they're gonna ask for. So
Read Keene's letter.
I did go through the detail on this billing, and a lot of it was just from, just extensive amounts of requests from the water authority, meetings, phone calls, etc. So that's disheartening. It's still, I believe, worth the fight, and staff is recommending that we pay this 32,000.
What's going to bring the total to? This amount going to bring the total to?
Geez,
Exclusive of the consultant, about 175,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's, let's see if I've got that. 130, 190, 200. Looks like 230 on here, but that's all, not all encompassing of the expenses related to it. So
Close enough for government work.
I hate that saying.
This is the
I
epitome. of it.
grudgingly move, we approve option one.
Second,
Moved by Director Moss, seconded by Director Gasca. Any further discussion?
I'm at 213,000 on my calculator, so she was
Nice.
213.
plus this 32. Yeah.
255. $250,000. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And that was option one.
Yeah.
Item number 26, discussion and possible action to approve a change order with Ortiz Construction for the Rainbow Water Quality Improvement Project, Water Main and Service Relocation Project 600077.
Take it away, Chad.
Okay, well, first, I tell everybody, especially in our E&O committee, I hate the name of this project. It's gonna be my mission that the county doesn't name these projects after the Rainbow Water District again, because this is their groundwater. This is not what staff prefers to do. This work has already occurred, and we're asking the board to approve a change order for work already done. What we found out on this contract with Ortiz Corporation, and we have since made changes within engineering on any future construction agreements, the contractor shall notify the district in writing within 7 days of a change condition. In this case, the contractor hit Hard Rock. We learned a lot about Hard Rock on the Rice Canyon pipeline project. So we knew exactly what type of equipment it takes to get through. We know hourly rates on prevailing wage projects. So we had good data. However, what we didn't have in the contract was those teeth to make them do it. So they informed the district that we've encountered Hard Rock. We're going to need to bring in larger equipment. Can we go to T&M? We agreed to do that. And in tracking the T&M rates for the holidays, rain delays, it got slightly over the general manager's signing authority on this project. So we're bringing this to the board. This project has, I believe, 5 different phases within the Rainbow Valley that we'll be working in. This is just one phase. We know that we're going to hit more Hard Rock. We're also anticipating groundwater at the next site we're about to go to.
Oh, yeah.
So in option one that staff is recommending, it's the $109,288, which covers this change order plus a 15% contingency so that we don't have to come back to the board should the next change order exceed the general manager signing authority of 10% or 25K, whichever is greater. Option two of this memo would be just authorize the $109,000. If we encounter more hard rock, groundwater, whatever a changing condition is, and it's outside of the general manager signing authority, we would come back to the board. But staff is recommending option one.
Yeah, because if we have to wait a month every time, it's
And this is our project or the county's?
it's a project that we have to move some stuff to deal with a county stormwater improvement project.
Yeah. And the water table over there is, I mean,
I'm not worried about the
Shallow.
water table.
It's
In reading this project, I couldn't understand whether Artis was working for us or was working for the county, but we were paying them.
okay, so apologies for that. This is a County of San Diego capital improvement project, which now has conflict with existing district infrastructure,
Sure.
pipelines and water laterals. So we have to move out of their way at our
Very
expense.
expensive.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh my
So
God.
we
And
have
AT&T and SDG
All
faced
doing
with
the
the same thing.
all doing the same thing.
oh,
Correct.
man.
Yes. The good news is for the board, when I first started at the district, the County of San Diego would issue us, hey, here's a project, get it done. And we didn't have time to put it in our 5-year CIP plan. And so there was a lot of jumping through hoops. We now meet with the county once a month. What is on your forecast? And then we decide who has senior rights. And in this case, we did not. We always confer with legals on that. And we tell them, we cannot get this. We understand this is a priority to the county.
Yep.
We don't have it in our CIP. We can get it into next year's after meeting with finance or whatever. So it's become a much better working relationship. Maybe that's why they named the project. Horrible name. Because we made.
In spite of you.
Malik, he just stepped out and Amanda's listening. And I try not to attend the meetings with the county because I just get infuriated. So I let them attend and I jump in as needed.
Well, on that note that Chad described in the meetings, another project that has come up from the county and that Steve Straighpack was actually getting
Camino del Rey.
budget on Camino del Rey over at the horse track. They're going to raise that. And they initially told us that you need to move your water line. That was going to be multi-million-dollar project. But we did
A little
some
over
research.
$3 million.
Yeah, that was as it was estimated then. We did some research and we have easements along there before it was a county road.
Or it was
That means it was private property. And probably 2 or 3 years ago,
Yeah.
made an assertion to the county like, hey, we have prior rights. You got to pay to move it. Crickets from them for some time, but just in the last month,
Yeah, month
couple
or two.
weeks, month or two, some of their staff said, yep, you're right. You have prior rights. So they're going to pay to relocate.
And
the
they said,
property.
do you happen to have plans? We had the same design engineer because we had originally started before we came to the new realization. So we gave them all our CAD files because we stopped design when Nussman told us, yeah, this is going to be on them. And then they asked, so what's your order of magnitude here? Are we like in the 300, 600,000? Like, no, 3.5 million. They about fell out of their chairs.
Which
But,
racetrack? The main one or
The
the
San Luis.
secondary?
San Luis Rey, where it floods all the time, they're going to actually raise it.
They want to raise it
Okay. Yeah, well, it's
Why,
flooded
why
right
do you
now.
have to move the pipe?
because it would make the depth of our pipe.
That pipe's already deep.
Yeah, and it would
Deep,
get
I know,
much too
yeah.
deep.
Okay,
Yep, so we
And
wanna-
when that pipe was originally put in the 50s, it was just a dirt path.
Yeah.
And as it became a road, they kept adding to it. I think the
Good.
pipe's 16 feet deep.
It
in
might
certain
be,
places.
yeah, the original plans, we're gonna put this almost at 20-foot depth, and so
Okay.
it has to be raised up.
okay.
And it-
Well, you're not going to raise it. You're just going to lay pipe above
They're
it.
gonna put
right?
They'll lay a new pipe, test it, reconnect, and then abandon them.
In one place. Okay.
At
It's
their-
still
at their
3.6 million.
Well, it'll be much higher now with inflation and cost. of
And if the
material.
county does it.
Oh, God.
Is there a motion? Any further discussion? Sorry.
I move we accept option one. Is that correct?
That's staff's recommendation, yes.
I'll second.
Director Moss moves option 1, seconded by Director Gasca. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 27, discussion and possible action to approve resolution 23-05, a resolution establishing classification and monthly pay ranges for district employees and general manager effective February 28, 2023 through June 30th, 2023.
Arlene,
All right, so there is one change on this resolution, but I'm going to give the board some of the explanation because I'm sure you're all wondering, what are we going to do with the communications function? As Cynthia was our customer service and communications supervisor who retired in February. So as is customary, when we have a vacancy, I update our compensation analysis to make sure that the job design and our pay rates are appropriate with what the labor market is. In this position, for the some history, we've gone through several iterations of what the job design of the customer service supervisor has been over the past few years. When I started here, there was no supervisor position. They all reported directly to the finance manager. We realized we needed closer oversight, so we created a position that was combined with the finance function. And then the demands were too split. That wasn't really working very well. And we felt like it would be logical for the communications and customer service functions to be together because there's a higher awareness in customer service of, you know, what the customer's concerns are and what needs to be communicated. And we knew that we had an internal candidate that had the skill set or the background who was already handling our communications and could do that in conjunction with the customer service supervisor position. However, that's a very rare combination of skill sets. And as I did the comp analysis, I found a couple of things that were significant. One is there were no other positions that looked like that except for one other agency. And that other agency was a communications and customer service supervisor, but had 3 full-time analysts doing the communications piece in addition to the 3 customer service reps. So this person had a team of 6 versus having to do all the communications themselves as well as manage or supervise the department. So I concluded that recruiting for a position like that was going to be very challenging to find someone qualified for both of those functions. I also, after looking at the data of just the customer service supervisor market, our pay grade was significantly higher than it would need to be if it didn't include the communications piece. And in addition, as strictly a supervisor position, it would meet, I believe it would meet the requirements to be an exempt position, which the previous position was hourly because the communications piece took up so much of that time, which was an hourly function. So by splitting them, the supervisor is now a true supervisor and because it would be exempt from overtime and the pay grade would be more appropriate with the market for that job. That is the change that is on this resolution, is to reclassify that supervisor position. The other change that we're recommending doesn't require a change to the pay grade structure, but I want the board to be informed as to what our plan is to handle the communications and public relations piece. For the exact same budget that we were paying, including overtime, including benefits for the customer service and communication supervisor position, we can fund this customer service supervisor that would be exclusively focused on that department, plus a part-time communications and public affairs position that would work approximately 16 hours a week. Because we have the EAM data of how much time Cynthia was spending on that, that's more than double the amount of time that she was booking to that function. And it's slightly higher than the highest year that she ever booked in terms of the time that she spent on that was about 650 hours for the year. This is, you know, above 700 hours for the year. So it's more time dedicated exclusively to that function. So the focus isn't split between two departments. I also did a market analysis. The pay rate would be hourly. It would be higher, but there would be no benefits because it's part-time. So we would have enough funding to fund the full-time customer service supervisor position and hire in a qualified person that has a background, has a degree in journalism or communications, and has the experience to do this kind of a role, and still have about $20,000 left in the budget for outsourcing specific projects that are more complicated communications like Prop 218 notices and things that are very sensitive to the ratepayers that need a very skillful, experienced touch. So we could outsource some of those projects to an outside PR firm that this person would help coordinate that communications with the PR firm. So it's the same budget money, but it's just the job designs would be a little bit different, is what we're recommending.
And you think you can find a part-time 16-hour?
So I posted the job already because I wanted to have the answer to that question before this meeting. Because if you said no, then I can always just not hire someone. I do already have about 35 applications, and we actually have a handful of very highly qualified ones.
One of whom I know. and-
One of whom has won awards and has done communications for law enforcement. And we also have some very highly qualified military people who have, done mass communications for the Navy and the Marine Corps. So we have some strong candidates already. So I'm
For a
confident that we
part-time
can find for a part-time position. It's ideal for someone that for whatever reason wants a different kind of lifestyle, and they want to not have that full-time commitment, but they want to continue a meaningful
These
career.
aren't like entry level. These are experienced people.
People, yeah.
They just want to,
And we're gonna
They
need.
have
Like
other
hours
things
a
that they're
week.
doing in their life, and this is extra
We,
income.
we've got some difficult messaging coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
so-
think one of the challenges that Cynthia's always faced, because she's an analyst and stuff, is the communications always
Oh
comes
my
on,
God.
and she was busy doing the phone calls like, oh crap, I gotta be right. You've seen it in the communications
yeah.
committee that she's
Yeah.
being pulled in a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
And what the plan is for this person not to report to finance, to report in through HR and the admin here
Okay.
to focus communications so they can be, this is your job. You're gonna be siloed in here, do this stuff.
And it's
Don't get distracted.
some of the functions are aligned with some of the work that our HR team already does. We do communications for job postings and employee communications, and using Canva for graphic design is the same tool that this person would be doing. So we would be able to be more of a backup to each other rather than not having a backup.
Well, it's an elegant solution to a quandary that I've had, that we are not sufficiently large enough to justify a full-time position,
Right.
and sharing it part-time with other resources, the other resources got priority.
Right.
And Carlene has specific experience in this area, so it just makes sense for them to report to her.
Yeah, no.
Have you looked at talking to some of the other agencies like the Resource Conservation District or Fallbrook to see whether between the two of us, we could end up with one full-time person?
Fallbrook has their own full-time.
Time
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fallbrook does have
Understand.
their own, and most other, to be honest,
Oh,
most other agencies, when I did my research for the compensation to be what would be an appropriate hourly rate for someone with professional level experience doing this function, most of the districts do have a full-time person, even Fallbrook.
Mhm.
So we are rare, but we think that the combination for now, and we'll have a better idea after we've done this for a year, and maybe next year's staffing analysis, I can report back whether it's working or we need to make any changes. But for now,
I don't think you answered my question. I asked if you had talked to any of the districts to see if they
I've
had
not
people.
conversations on sharing.
Yeah.
on sharing a resource, no,
Yeah, okay.
we did.
I'm not really in favor of that, because
It's never worked well in my experience. I've
No.
tried it over the years. many
the
times.
other guy always got the bit of.
Well, both sides would think that. I used to share a 50-50, a safety person with
Oh, I
Rincon when I was at Levenheim,
And
and neither side was happy.
no, the employee wasn't happy.
Right, yeah.
No, it did
She's
not. She just
very-
retired.
She's
Just-
retired now.
Just
Yeah.
retired.
Yeah.
Wow.
But so I think that it's an elegant solution that Carly and the team came up with. I do think that the one candidate that I know, man, we get that person in here, it'll elevate the game.
Cool. Definitely a creative solution to a challenging problem.
I like it.
I'll make the motion to approve option one.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Moved by Director Mack, seconded by Director Moss for option one. Sorry. Director Gaska, correction.
He's a ventriloquist.
Moved by Director Gaska for option one, seconded by Director Moss.
Oh my God, you guys.
You were just waiting for me to do that. Item number 29, discussion.
Thank you.
We need a vote.
We need a
Oh,
vote.
sorry. Well, so you got me all discombobulated. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Option 29, discussion and possible action to adopt ordinance number 23-02, updating and amending the administrative code sections 5.05.010, 5.5.020, and 5.05.
All those things.
All those things, right?
So this is just housekeeping. There was a
Yeah,
change in the
housekeeping,
government
yeah.
section. As you see in the red line, it's just changing one section number than other. Don and Alfred worked on it. So,
I was going to say, it looked like all they did was change the reference to the state code or whatever.
Yeah, thanks a lot, legislature.
I move we accept option 1.
I'll second it.
Moved by Director Hamilton, second by Director Moss. All those in favor?
This
Aye.
requires a roll call vote.
Oh,
It's
oops.
Oh, it's an ordinance. Yeah, sorry. Roll call vote.
Director Gasca,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Matt,
Aye.
Director Ma,
Aye.
and Director Townsend Smith. Aye. Thank you.
Okay, number 30, discussion and possible action to adopt ordinance number 23-01, updating and amending administrative code sections, blah, 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 blah.
So all this-
Records retention, district records, and records retention, legal records.
So you'll probably be seeing more of these as we come along, because this came out of the work that Ahmed and Freddie been working on for a while to get info document management going, a proper document management system that is now up and running, that can house all documents electronically backed up in the cloud and easily searchable from and coming in from any source, whether they come from an invoice, finance, from a work order, from anywhere. But as part of that process, we're going to start feeding the system with a lot of scanned documents. Don can tell the story. This district scanned all their documents about 15 years ago and then lost the
Lost
computer
everything.
and the scanner, lost all the data somehow. I don't know, it was before I got here. We searched around, can't find it. But part of when we go forward, that as we scan documents, there's a whole setup of metadata we're collecting with it, as in what's its record retention, right? What is its, what are the keywords? What are the different search functions we're going to have? Every document will be OCR'd. You can search on any word, but if we can index it on the metadata, it makes it that much faster to find later. But as part of this, we've had meetings with all department managers to say, go through your record retention schedules. Record retention schedules are, the backwater thing that everybody looks at and says, yeah, I don't deal with it every day. But now when you're feeding the monkey with all these documents, you got to have this information. And so as each department comes through, and we'll bring more through, this one came through from Don and the administration department, looking at some of these records that were in this old record schedule, either not really needed or they're duplicative. They're also being kept by another department, or, with different terms and periods. So you'll see some of these adjustments coming through that we want to start keeping our records. So in the future, the system will be able to have a flag on the metadata that says when it's time for it to be destroyed. It's not like the old days where you go get the file cabinet and put it in the shredder. Now we electronically dispose of these records, but it'll really improve in the future, rather than somebody come, hey, Dawn, I need this document or this contract or this whatever, and she's got to go in the vault here and sort through and find it, that those records will be available. The system does have security so that only certain records can be seen by certain people. It's not accessible to the public, but it'll also speed up Public Records Act requests as well. So that's the backstory to what this is. You'll probably see more over the next several months.
Okay.
So the only retention mode is the cloud?
We have paper records, but the cloud is primarily for backup in case this building burns down. Like if this building had burned down in the Lilac fire, a lot of records would just been gone. But it's also for ease of recovery at the staff level.
But even in an all electronic environment, as I can say on the cloud, most of the cloud providers today have multiple sites with multiple backups. So if that site suddenly imploded,
That's
you've
what I
got.
was.
Oh, yeah.
You're
The-
answering the question. Yeah.
Especially with these documents, the way that we're doing it right now and discuss this with them. Every documents that we store on the cloud, we have three backups of 3 different cloud providers. And they do their own
Backup.
Right.
Yeah.
We're double, triple, quadruple backed up.
So we're waiting for ransomware if we get hit that we can recover from it, but it also helps us if one of our cloud providers.
Yeah, there's
And this,
been a lot of
it's
technology.
all on Amazon Web Services, which is the kind of the gold
Mhm.
standard.
IBM has something as similar.
Yeah. And Microsoft Azure, all those, we got on Azure, AWS and Wasabi.
We're on all three.
AWS and Wasabi piggybacks on AWS, and we also do Azure on there, and then we're talking.
Okay, cool. I move we approve option one.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Mack. All roll call vote, please.
Yes. Director Gaska,
Aye.
Director Hamilton,
Aye.
Director Matt.
Aye.
Director Moss.
Aye.
And Director Townsend Smith.
Aye.
Thank you.
Item number 31, discussion and possible action regarding CSDA Board of Directors call for nominations. Seat C is in Charlie.
So this is just there's gonna be an opening on the seat to see if any of you want to run for the big CSCA, not the regional seat.
Oh, it's not the regional?
Yeah, it's the state one.
No, thanks.
Didn't think so, but we got to bring it to you.
Okay. Does this require a vote?
If you don't want to take any action, you don't, there's just no action needed. This is just letting you know if somebody wants to do it, I've got to fill in a nomination. If there was to be a nomination, I think minutes would have done on this. I know I have to start.
And that's in our region was it 10 or 9?
This is to Arlene Schaefer's seat. She's not running. So seat
She's not
C,
running?
she's not, oh, is running for reelection. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, she's
running.
She's beaten me twice.
Yeah. Hey,
We're tired of being bumped by her.
Yeah.
Arlene's she's a tough out, man. She's a tough out.
Well, yeah, because
she's pretty well connected.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Everybody
'cause
knows.
Joe McKenzie's right behind her.
Yeah, well, Arlene's.
You don't step on certain people's toes.
So no action.
Say, no action.
31A, discussion and possible action to adopt resolution number 23-06, concurring in nomination to the Executive Committee of the Association of California Agencies Joint Power Insurance Authority.
Yeah.
Aqua.
Just late last week, Valley Center got us a request for Oliver Smith, who's on their board, who's going to run for that, and they're looking to get concurring resolutions to support Oliver Smith. This is for you to determine whether you'd like to. I'm not sure how many of you know Oliver. I've met him. He's a nice guy. He's been on the Special District Advisory Committee for a while at LAFCO, and he's a nice enough guy. And the way I look at it, if there's people who have commonality in a district like ours, which Valley Center is very similar,
Yep.
to have them in these
I'm
positions,
in full
it's-
agreement.
as opposed to somebody from a big city or something like that. And unless one of you all are running for it, then supporting Oliver's candidacy is not a good idea.
Oh, I recommend
So-
that we support it. So do we need a resolution? What do we need here?
You need a motion.
There's
to-
an motion. and a second.
move that
There's a
we-
resolution.
I move that we, is there option one or supporting Director Oliver Smith?
Yeah, I'll second. Isn't there somebody else that's on the board?
Currently on Aqua JPIA,
Yeah, I thought we met somebody or
Um,
somebody was introduced as at the
Yeah.
CSDA dinner as it being a Jeopardy.
I know. I don't know. Let me look it up.
I
Yeah.
didn't, I
Who's
don't
on the board
remember.
right
either.
now? Let's see here.
Are they,
Governance.
I guess I'm trying to remember. They're at large seats or they're dedicated seats?
I believe they go region by
Region, that's what I
Let's
thought.
See here. Where's the board?
And this is just confirming the nomination. They'll send out a ballot, I
Right.
think, in March. So we'll get a ballot.
Okay.
to vote.
So this is just a concurrent resolution
Correct.
voicing our support.
Correct.
Okay. And that's option one.
David Drake is on there.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah.
David, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
I knew
like
David, I was
another,
thinking of somebody else.
it's like another open seat. Is that what it is? And
Yeah, it must be another one because his looks like Fred Brockmiller's term ends in May 23. Another guy from Humboldt's term ends in May 23.
What about David?
David's May 25.
Okay.
So he's not up. So it's not
he's
his
not-
seat.
okay. I wanted to make sure that,
We weren't
He wasn't
opposing something
counted.
against David.
yeah, right, yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's 9 seats, they say, and there's 8 members elected by the board of directors, voting member, the 9th is held by the vice president of Aqua. So there's 1 seat vacant. I'm on their website. There's only 7 people here, so that might be that empty seat, but.
I believe. When we went to the last UTIA, I believe what happened was someone didn't get reelected.
Yeah.
So they
Oh,
actually,
right.
and they just,
Yeah,
they
right.
just
I heard
pointed someone temporarily. So that's
Oh,
probably the reason
okay.
why.
Yeah, I didn't remember that. Call for the question.
So yeah, item 1, option 1 is the.
Yeah.
recommendation.
Have a motion from Director Moss, no second.
From Director Gaston for option 1. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Board member request for authorization to attend upcoming meetings, conferences, or seminars, and Dawn gave us a scheduled list here.
I did, and I added the
meetings.
legal symposium that we've been talking about. However, this is not one of those that's listed in our reimbursement remuneration policy. So there is a cost associated with that. If you wanted to go, then we need to have board approval for that.
Is that the legislative that you added?
Which one?
Not the-
Legislative
No leadership.
symposium?
Not the
Oh, right here?
legislative days. This
In
is
March?
the Aqua Legal Symposium, I believe it is.
Okay.
There's one that says legislative symposium. Is there another?
That might be it. That's it.
Okay.
Oh, legislative symposium. yeah.
Legislative symposium, yeah. I believe that's in March, though.
One day.
Right, 23rd.
No,
Forget it.
that'd drive me nuts.
No way. No way.
I finally got the information. That's this one.
And the Leadership Academy is occurring right now as we speak.
Robert's there.
Ah,
Good. I'm glad.
You haven't signed up for the legislative, right?
I haven't been able to sign anybody up because they just released this information.
Oh, really?
It just came out. So I sent out the email as soon as I received it to everybody and let everybody know.
Because that's the one that I have.
Yeah, you, right.
for
We
the
just didn't
Aqua
have-
one?
Yeah.
Okay.
we just need to get approval from
Got
the board because there's a
Fine.
cost
Should
associated.
write
with
it
Yeah,
down.
right.
So if we do that, Meg, I will get you registered by tomorrow.
Okay.
So we have Director Gaskin has requested to attend the Aqua 2023 Legislative Symposium. Any other requests? I move that we approve Director Gaskin's attendance of the
Second.
moved by Director Hamilton, seconded by Director Moss for approving Director Gaskin's attendance in the legislative symposium. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Board information items.
I have one item to add to this. December 31st, 1953,
Uh-oh.
Secretary of State, State of California, signed off on the formation of Rainbow Municipal Water District. Well, the end of this year is our 70th anniversary. So we want to plan to do some recognition of that. If we were Disneyland, we would have started last year. We could run through this year and into the following year, but we're not Disneyland. But one of the things we want to recognize it, and as we were talking internally, one of the things we think would be great, and this would be awesome to coincide with our successful detachment as well, is a refresh of our branding, of our logo and things like that.
Oh, I like that.
It's kind of run its course. And rather than hire somebody to do this, we're thinking of having a logo contest amongst the staff and our committee members and board members. People submit ideas and then we'll bring them forward to look at it. Obviously, over time, we'd have to change the decals on our trucks. It wouldn't be something we'd go do them all at once, but it would be something to do a refresh. It's just, I'm not sure how long this logo's been around, but it's been a
This
while.
logo.
Yeah, and it's awkward to work with. Like they can't embroider it right because it's got all that stupid small font and it's got this big R and the small rainbow. And it was a reaction to when it used to have a nice actual multicolored rainbow, but then certain
got
societal implications of that changed it. So I don't know. But we just wanted to run that past you to see if anybody had heartburn over us rolling that out. I know
No, I think
Carlene's
it's a
got it
great
queued up
idea.
and ready to go. There's-
Retaining the rainbow name, but different.
Yeah, we don't
logo?
have another name to give right now,
Are we still waiting on those guys to?
yeah,
poll?
but they've jumped into league with the Palma Valley folks and going tilting against the tribes, so. Yeah, we don't want, it just became super toxic.
Yeah.
It was a cool name too.
Oh, it is a
No.
cool
They
name.
don't even
Maybe
say
we
it.
can, San Luis Rey MWD.
Well, can we preempt it?
Well, that's something we could look at. The name of the district can change under the Municipal Waters Act of 1911 in Water Code Section 72,000. We can change the name of our district by the action of the board. And if you want to bring that into it, you could, Bonsall Municipal Water District. I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah.
No, because we're not just Bonzel.
Right. And so, but we're not Rainbow either.
No, we're
Well,
not
Mike-
Rainbow at all,
Yeah.
except for
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do like
Largest
this,
district.
that other one.
What's that?
The San Luis Rey River.
Well, San Luis Rey, they've,
Is that Pat?
they are now working with the Palma Valley folks to fill out their GSA. And then the litigation to come with the tribes.
Yeah.
They're gonna be
Oh,
part of
God.
that. And so
Guilty by.
that's one of the things that if we were trying to do, that they would want us to agree to that. And I don't know about you folks, but I certainly don't agree with
no,
that.
no, no,
That
no.
would be a bad idea to get into legal dispute with 5 tribes in our valley. It's certainly gonna lose as well. And so,
Yeah. but
so that's like, they're not kind of the suitor you want to join up with.
I do like the idea, San Marcos, we had a very ugly logo for years and they did the same thing. And I believe they gave it a reward of like $250.
Yeah, we'll do.
And actually the winning design went to the streets supervisor. That came up with the design and I think I got like $250.
Sure.
But it was kind of cool because they showed the employees all the different ones and
Yeah.
then done a drum roll and then the winner is.
Ray Wall.
But that was pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll go through the process with the communications committee. We hadn't rolled it out to them yet. Carlene's been shaping out the process, but I wanted to
Cool. No, I think it's a great
Just-
idea.
bring it forward to you guys. We hadn't anticipated doing a name change along with it.
So I'm going to ask that. That was my next question. When you change a name, that's becomes hugely expensive.
Yeah, because there's some legal aspects to it, but all of our contracts should say and successors and assigns and et cetera, et cetera. There
Yeah,
are
and-
agencies that have changed their name. I mean, Leucadia Wastewater District was Leucadia County Water District before that. And, there's been public agencies that have changed their names. I don't know. Counselor-
Can we ask you to take an action item? I don't know whether it's Carlene or you to give us a ballpark estimate of what a name change would cost us.
Oh, we can
A
take a look
name
at that. I don't want to
Right.
talk to Alfred on
Yeah,
whether
that's a
there'd be a
good
lot of
idea.
contractual stuff, but I don't know. I think pretty much all our contracts should say successors and assigns.
Yeah, that was gonna be part of the logo. If we decided to change the logo, there would also obviously be costs involved. So
Right.
that would be something that would come to the
Just when you
board
get new unless you
at the
wanna
time you
replace it,
approve
sure.
one.
But as you can do it in
Hey,
two ways. One,
okay.
just transition as things wear out or new
Yeah.
vehicles, or other ones.
Right.
We can, for the trucks, you can get magnets to stick over the old
Yeah,
ones,
one.
right? Until you get the new ones, but
The biggest expenses, letterhead and stuff like that, billing statements.
oh yeah, there's gonna be a lot of that.
But you know what the benefit of that might be? Is because always the negative, oh, Rambo, that was the one that was gonna do a merger or, you know what I mean? If you.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
You get rid of that stigma.
Yeah, you're
Well,
absolutely right.
we'll take a look at it. We're just kind of
Yeah.
starting it out here and, but, the San Luis Rey would have been,
Nice name.
the best one, but, maybe we can work around that.
Work San Luis Rey into it and
Like
just add a
lower
word
basin
or something.
or in the lower basin.
Yeah, we'll, all right.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
I
opened up a
like
whole new set of synapses here, so we got to
Yep.
chew on that. All right, I just wanted to roll that out there, just float it out there and make sure I got your reactions. I figured it would be this, but before we got too deep into it, I
lower
wanted to
basin.
make
Yeah,
sure.
well, actually, we aren't in Rainbow.
Well, Michael lives there.
Michael is the only one in Rainbow.
And I don't even call what I live there, I call it Fallbrook. So
See?
I
And we're
love
not in
that.
Fallbrook.
I love that name, so.
Yeah, all right. So I mean, I think it's a cool name. A lot of people like it, but There's-
There's connotation to water too.
right.
Exactly.
There's 2 RMWDs in the county because they're Ramona, Rainbow.
Rainbow Creek.
Well, we'll kick it around.
I don't want it to be Moody Creek or Moosa Creek.
No, 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 nobody wants to be Musa MWD.
No. That would be really an ugly moose head.
And we could find, what did they call
I'm
this?
sorry, I'll behave.
And we find the, I'll ask what the, Bo Mazzetti at Rincon, what this river was called before. It was San
Well, or
Luis.
something with Paula in it.
Right, right, right. Well,
Paula's water.
you gotta be careful about,
Be careful with the
Palma's
Indians.
water.
Palma,
Palma.
Palma. No,
Yeah, I
they're,
don't,
they're
there's
like
also.
8
Palma.
different words or 9 different.
Yeah, yeah,
words.
yeah, there's a whole.
I've seen the videotape, which is
Yeah,
gone
yeah.
now, but
All right, we'll take that for action. That's all I have to report.
okay. Tracy, anything from you? Chad?
We filed a written report.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I would like to ask at the next meeting that we get an update on the grant and the capital improvement programs.
Okay, Amelia, no? She just did one of those, so we're ready to roll.
And where are we on
The
easement
executive-
work?
Easement as in
Our easements, the work that's been ongoing,
right of way maintenance?
all that?
So I can get an
As
update.
far as clearing them?
Yeah.
Yep, we have a rolling budget that does that, and we're working with Specialty Mowing Service, Specialty Mowing.
It's in one of your
Services.
capital project things.
It
too, right?
is, yep.
So that'll be
It's
part of that.
ongoing. Ramon brings us the most of them.
Executive search.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about that
Just
because
an
the,
update.
yeah, and we might want to talk about scheduling as well, because we plan to start releasing that
Seeing
with
an
LAFCO getting moved. We'll have to determine how that's gonna work.
See, we just
Yeah.
don't want you to go, Tom. You've done such a good job.
I have a hammer and nail. We can just
Oh,
one foot on the
okay,
ground.
that's good.
Item number 34, are we on suggested items for the next?
I believe
Yeah.
so.
I
Yes.
missed half of that because I wasn't sure where we were.
They're all taking notes.
They jumped in before I had a chance to read the item.
I apologize.
I got the update on the grant and something. Yeah.
Grant and CIP.
Right of way maintenance. Right of way maintenance also, Jen.
CIP update and right away maintenance.
Strategic plan,
Strategic plan, well, all right.
at least some discussion of,
Yeah, we got a discussion. My recommendation is to wait till post attachment, or at least you know which Fort Hood Road we're gonna go.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to plan for two.
Claim things, yeah.
I thought it would have done by. now.
The
We could-
Yeah.
strategic plan.
Yeah, I know. All right, plan A and plan B.
yeah.
Any other topics? With that, we'll adjourn at